Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From our studios, we bring to you this week's edition of MCP Weekly, your briefing on the developments shaping the future of Agentic AI. This week, major developments unfolded simultaneously across hardware, enterprise software, safety, funding, and global competition. Anthropic acquired a startup to give Claude direct control over computers, a step towards fully operational AI agents. Chinese labs were exposed for extracting Claude capabilities for industrial use. Jira began deploying AI agents and assignable co-workers inside enterprise environment. Meanwhile, MCP, the protocol quietly connecting the emerging ecosystems, added 97 new members, including JP Morgan to Amazon. This program cuts through the noise to focus only on what matters. Let's begin. So, Anthropic dropped a pretty significant update to Claude Code on desktop this week. A big one. Claude can now preview your actual running application UI right inside desktop interface. Like you're building something, Claude spins up the developer server, looks at what the UI actually looks like, read the console logs, and iterate based on what it sees. Not just code, the real visual output. There's also a new review code button before you can even push anything. Claude scans your local files, flag bugs, leave inline comments, then it connects to your GitHub command line, so it monitors your PR status, auto-fixes continuous integration failures, and now can iterate auto-merge in the background while you are already moving to your next task. Same session, multiple threads running simultaneously. Okay, real quick background. COBOL is the 60-year-old programming language that still powers like 95% of US ATM transactions and a huge chunk of government infrastructure. The problem? The original developers who wrote this stuff are retired and the institutional knowledge is literally dying with them. Nobody knows what the half of the code actually does. Claude Code is now being used to reverse engineer this stuff. It traces execution paths, mapped out the data flow, recovers documentation logs, and generates diagrams for the workload that haven't been documented in decades. What used to take years of expensive consulting, AI is compressing that to a single quarter. Anthropic pushes a major update on Cowork, their enterprise-grade platform, and honestly the one that feels less like a product update and more like a platform shift. Admins can now build their private internal plugin markets. You can now configure role-specific agents for HR, engineer, finance, and whatever your department needs. The big feature is cross-app orchestration. Claude can now work across Excel, PowerPoint simultaneously. Pull data, update the model, and generate the presentation deck in one continuous session without you ever switching the tab. Now, connectors include Google Workspace, DocSign, HubSpot, and adjacent tools like Apollo and Clay, and premium finance data from Vercept and MSCI. Piggybacking on the Coworkers update, Anthropic also dropped a dedicated finance version. 5 specialized plugins for analysis, investment banking, equity research, private equity, and wealth management. MCP connects directly to Vercept and MSCI and partners plugins from S&P Global and London Stock Exchange. So, we are talking Capital IQ Pro tier sheets and live DCF models with real yield curve. If you are in finance and you are still manually pulling data from different platforms and copy-pasting it in your PowerPoint, this is a thing that automates the entire pipeline. Comparable companies and analysis, earning transcript parsing, portfolio rebalancing, all of it in single place. Okay, this one is wild. CEO of Anthropic, Sir Dario, published a formal statement last week about negotiation with the US Department of War. Yes, that's what they're calling it now. Over the military deployment of Claude. Anthropic has Claude deployed in defense and intelligence right now for things like intelligence analysis, cyber operations, and planning. But they draw 2 lines: no mass domestic surveillance and no fully autonomous weapons, meaning no AI can make lethal decisions without human in the loop. The Department of War pushes back hard. They are reportedly threatening to label Anthropic a supply chain risk and invoke the Defense Production Act to force them to remove those safeguard rates. This is genuinely historic. A government threatening to use wartime procurement law to strip away safety filters from a civilian AI company. It sets a precedent for how much control the state can exert over a dual-use AI technology. Sir Dario held the line publicly, which is a statement in itself. Anthropic acquired a startup called Vercept last week. Vercept specializes in AI perception, especially how AI systems see and interact with the software interface, that same way that human would. Mouse clicks, keyboard inputs, navigation between tabs, the whole thing. Claude Sonnet 4.6 is already at 72.5% on OS World benchmark. That's a test for how well AI can navigate real software like spreadsheets and web forms. For context, that was sub 15% just over a year ago. Vercept team, including their 3 co-founders who came from a background in AI interaction research, are shutting down their product and joining Anthropic full-time to push this further. Anthropic released a version 3.0 for the responsible scaling policy this week. Their framework for managing catastrophic risk helped models get more powerful. The big change is a shift away from purely theoretical capabilities threshold towards a dual-track system, what Anthropic can commit to unilaterally and what they are recommending the whole industry adopt together. They activated ASL3 safeguards back in May 2025. That's a level for managing risks around chemical and bioweapon information. Now, there are new risk reports every 3 to 6 months with third-party review and public frontier safety roadmap that tracks progress on security and alignment. And here's the honest admission buried in the documentation. Anthropic says the highest level of model security, the stuff needed to stop nation-state actors, are literally impossible for a private company to achieve alone without the government's help. Anthropic published a full report this week exposing what they are calling industry-scale distillation attack from 3 Chinese AI labs: DeepSeek, Moonshot AI, and Minimax. These labs use network of roughly 24,000 fake accounts and commercial proxy services to run over 16 million exchanges with Claude, especially targeting its most advanced capabilities to train their own models. These numbers are staggering. Minimax alone ran over 13 million exchanges. Moonshot ran 3.4 million. They are specially extracting Claude agentic reasoning, tool uses, computer vision, and code orchestration. They even got Claude to walk through its own chain of thought reasoning step by step to generate specialized training data. DeepSeek reportedly used Claude to generate censorship-safe responses to politically sensitive topics to train their own models on how to handle those questions. SambaNova launched their SN50 chips this week, purpose-built for agentic AI inference. The headline number 895 tokens per second on Llama 3.3 70 billion. Compared to 184 tokens per second on NVIDIA's B200. That's a 5x speed advantage and a 3x lower cost for ownership. They announced a multi-year strategic collaboration with Intel to build an Intel-powered AI cloud and backed it up with $30 million Series E round led by Vista Equity. SoftBank is the lead customer and it's standardized on SN50 for the next generation of data centers across Asia Pacific. The chips use a 3-tier memory architecture that's specialized in optimizing for the kind of multi-step, multi-model orchestration that agentic AI requires. ServiceNow had a massive week. They launched what they're calling autonomous workforce. Not AI assistant, but an AI specialist that owns entire job roles. The debut product is the L1 Service Desk AI Specialist. It diagnoses and resolves IT tickets end-to-end, reportedly 99% faster than a human agent. They are already resolving over 90% of internal IT requests autonomously. Google Lab dropped a major update to Opal this week. Opal is their workforce builder, and up until now it was pretty rigid. Predefined steps, manual configuration. The new update adds a agentic generation step that replaces all of it. You give it a high-level objective and the agent decides the best part, recruits its own tools and executes it. It's now a cross-session memory, so it learns from your preferences over time. Dynamic routing, so it can also take different paths based on real-time conditions, like treating existing client differently from a new one. and if it misses information, it asks you before proceeding. It automatically pulls in VO for video, Google search for research, and whatever the task needs. Figma announced a major integration with Codex, the Agentic coding desktop app, via a new Figma MCP server, and it's now bidirectional. Codex can now read your Figma files, layout, styles, components, and generate a production-ready code from them. But you can also give it a other direction. Capture your live running web interface and convert it back into a fully editable Figma layer in seconds. Codex supports running multi-agents in parallel, so you can have agents iterating over different designs variables simultaneously. Update a style in Figma and it pulls back into codebase automatically. Atlassian launched an agent in Jira this week, currently in open beta, and the framing is intentionally. AI agents are now the first-class team members. You can now assign a Jira ticket directly to an agent. You can mention it @mention an agent in a comment to get instant results or a proposed fix. Agents can now trigger automatically when a ticket hits a specific status, like in progress, and go on and draft code and documentation from human approval. Jira now supports third-party agents via MCP for tools like Figma, GitHub Copilot, Box, Canva, and Intercom, all orchestrated together by Atlassian Teamwork Graph, which has now over 100 billion work items. Every single action an agent takes is logged into the ticket history. Full audit trail, full governance, existing permission applied. The Linux Foundation initiative overseeing MCP announced a massive expansion this week. 97 new members joined, bringing the total to 146. We are talking about JP Morgan, Chase, American Express, ServiceNow, Red Hat, Circle, Equinix, UiPath. The foundation governs core protocols like MCP, Goose, and Agent.md, the standard that provides the plumbing for agent-to-tool communication. And the full schedule just dropped for the MCP Dev Summit North America 2026, April 2nd and 3rd in New York City. Over 95 sessions, co-founders and maintainers from Anthropic, Microsoft, Hugging Face, and Datadog. Topics include conformance testing across SDKs, security mitigation for multi-issuer attacks, and what happened when the correct MCP specs need an additional product layer for scaling. The pace at which this page is genuinely increasing is relentless right now. If you want a full deep dive on any of these, like a dedicated video on the Vercept acquisition, the Department of War situation, or how the MCP actually works under the hood, drop a comment below. And if you are not subscribed yet, tap the subscribe button below. I cover this page every single week, so you don't have to track it yourselves. Until our next dispatch, I'm Om Shri and this was Agentic AI Weekly. Good night.